Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you getting on? Welcome back to another Fallout 76 news video. So, in today's blog post, Bethesda have a few more details regarding Wastelanders for us, particularly focusing on some community questions that were submitted in the run-up to the Bethesda Game Days event last week. So, let's jump in and take a look at what they've got for us. So, a few more community questions. Just ahead of the panel they did at Pax last week, Bethesda did ask for some community-submitted questions via their forums that didn't get a lot of a showing during the actual panel in the end. I suspect some of those questions were answered during the course of their discussions anyway, but they have, in this blog post, gone into a few more details regarding those actual questions. They've also given a bit of an overview of what was in the panel. If you'd like a more detailed, specific look, I'll put a card up in the corner just about now for the video I released earlier in the week looking at that panel. It's quite an in-depth video, but well worth a look. There's a lot of detail in there, and this one's going to be something of a follow-up to that, so perhaps worth a look as well. Give you a bit more context and detail. But let's take a little look at this blog post, shall we? So, opening up, we have a really nice shot across the top here for a banner shot. It's, well, somewhere in the southern forest, not exactly sure where, but I really like the details in this one. A little bit too much depth of field for my taste, perhaps, but a really nice capture nonetheless. Sometimes they absolutely knock it out of the park on these, so that's very, very cool to see. So, front part of the blog post basically goes over everything we've touched on before at the Pax East panel and in my previous video, as I say. Check out the card for that one. But, in case you missed our Wastelanders preview panel at the Bethesda Game Days last week, we've recapped many of the key details from the live show. We've also included raw gameplay video that played during our Wastelanders discussion, and have answered a few more community questions that we didn't get to during the panel. So, in short, basically you can rewatch the whole panel here if you'd like. As always, I'll link it down in the description. And if you just want to watch the gameplay footage that they played during the panel, preferably unedited and without them talking over it, that's an option here as well. I'll drop a few bits in and out of this video, I'm sure, just to keep things interesting. But that is available here as well, so worth a little look, although beware a few spoilers, obviously. So, I'm not going to go through everything we covered last time over again. We're just going to jump straight on to the community questions. Okay, more Wastelanders Q&A. So, prior to the Wastelanders preview panel, we had asked the community to submit questions to us on the Fallout 76 forums. While we wove many of the answers to these questions into the panel, we didn't have time for a specific Q&A section, so here are a few more answers that we missed during the show. So yeah, time has been something of a theme at this year's PAX from what I understand. No, Larian, who did the Baldur's Gate reveal, well worth a look if you're interested in that. I definitely am. They had serious time issues. They had half an hour added to their time and still used the whole thing on the gameplay demonstration, which was quite hilarious, but worth a look. So, questions about Wastelanders. Let's get to it. Can we still launch nukes in Wastelanders? There's $1 million question for you. And if so, what happens to settlements like Crater and Foundation? Answer being, you can definitely still launch nukes in Wastelanders. This isn't the Raiders or Settlers' first rodeo either. They will jump into their own hazmat suits to protect themselves from radiation. So, not a lot of details in response to that one. Other than, yes, you can still launch nukes. That's kind of what I personally would expect. They have said the pre-existing main storyline will remain, so not really surprising. I hadn't thought myself much about what would happen if you nuked either of the large cities, and I have certain concerns about that. Being able to do it makes kind of sense. And I like that they've gone down the road of having the Raiders and the Settlers jump into hazmat suits to protect themselves, though that won't protect them from the initial blast, so I assume they have somewhere to hide. So I'm guessing that will be the tone of it. I would just think, big if, but hopefully they'll build something in there wherein as soon as the alarm goes off saying there's a nuke launched, they run straight for an underground bunker or something like that so they can survive and then emerge in hazmat suits themselves. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Doubtless that will be making an appearance all over YouTube in the immediate aftermath of Wastelanders. Personally, I do have certain hesitations regarding this. From the point of view that it's doable, it's fun, and I love that they've embraced the mechanic and come up with a way to make the Settlers and the Raiders react to that, and that's really, really cool. But at the same time, if these are going to be hub locations with players hanging out in a lot and quests to pick up and traders and stuff, it's going to be annoying as hell if people are just nuking it left, right, and centre. I'd imagine the first few days it'll happen quite a bit, and then it'll die down after that. But even so, I might personally have said, yeah, we can do cool things with it, but we might be better off in the long run if we just make it another non-nukable location. Just my feeling, I think that could be kind of annoying past the initial kind of, oh, that's cool, all right, now do you want to stop nuking it, please, kind of feeling. But we'll see. So, does Wastelanders storyline override the story in the base game? No. We've worked to weave Wastelanders story into what's already there in the base game. New characters will still be able to complete the base game content in addition to the new quests. Also, some of what you've accomplished in the base game story will have a role to play in Wastelanders. So, long story short, we know that from last week that certain NPCs will be reacting to some of your experiences from the base game. So that's the thing. If you haven't had those experiences because you're playing as a new character, then you get a slightly different version of the Wastelanders story, insofar as that they won't have that to react to, so they won't react to it. So that's quite cool. There's also bits of dialogue have been overhauled with the few robot NPCs that are available to have conversations with. They've been expanded and you can talk to them, so we covered that in a bit more detail last time as well. So things like that, it doesn't override it, it kind of weaves in and out and expands it, which is very, very cool, and I think a great approach. I'm really pleased to see they've managed to kind of get a happy best of both worlds kind of result here. Assuming it works the way it sounds like it's going to work, and they've obviously intended it to work, that would be really, really cool. It should really bring the existing story to life in a lot of ways as well. Especially if you then have to take a run back through it, or the new character or whatever. You've obviously, by this stage, most people will have done it a fair few times, so it'll be nice to have a slightly different experience. That's cool. So, is Wastelanders going to be strictly solo play, or will team play be an option? This is quite a big one. I did say last time that I wasn't quite sure how being in a team when you go into an instance location would work. There's a number of games have had similar principles and have tackled it in different ways. This case, they do it a bit differently, so it's kind of important. I was wondering exactly how they were going to do this. So, you can play through the new story content solo or as part of a team. Cool. If you are the team leader, your teammates can also choose to listen in as you have conversations with different NPCs during your quests. So, again, short and sweet, but what I infer from that is, I'm not sure if this is an option. It looks like it will be an optional thing, so you can either engage with it in your own way and have your own experience. Not quite sure how that's going to work. Especially if you're in the same instance, but it sounds like primarily the team leader, whoever that may be, is the one who will get to direct the conversation, and everybody else will just be a spectator. Not necessarily the best way, not entirely convinced there is a best way either to handle that, but that's what they're going with for now. I would hope that if you're listening in, it doesn't advance your own conversation, so maybe you do have to go through it yourself and actually get the results and the choices that you would like to make yourself, so best of both worlds in some ways. But not a great deal of details here. Apparently there are options for both, though. It would appear to be the case given what they've put here. So, something to think about. Are major balance changes coming with Wastelanders? So this is one that we covered last time, and also have mentioned in the dim distant past as well. During an event last year, we discussed the balance paths coming to Wastelanders, but since have revised those plans. So short version, it's not coming with the launch of Wastelanders. They did say this last weekend, but it's been pushed back into the future. At Bethesda Game Days, we mentioned that we want to make all regions of Appalachia engaging for characters of all levels in the future, and this is where we will plan to focus our balancing efforts. So, short and sweet, they actually said more last week, so check that out in the video. But the general gist of it is they're going with a similar approach to ESO users, which means you can go anywhere at any time at any level and still have a both challenging and manageable experience and a rewarding experience. And you'll also be able to do that no matter who you're playing with. So it doesn't matter if you're level 10 playing with somebody who's level 300, you can still go to the same place and the game will work with that. Or that will be the idea. It also means you can head off to the Cranberry Bog at level 1 and not find yourself in, well, you know, going to toe-to-toe with level 50 Scorch Beasts. It'll adapt to that. So opening up the wasteland in a way that has not previously been the case. So very, very cool. However, obviously this is a huge change and will therefore take a lot of time and effort to do, and would detract from the time and effort they can put into the other humongous changes that they're working on with Wastelanders. So basically it will be coming later. My personal guess is not before the end of the summer, just because of the scale of the thing, and they'll want to PTS it as well. They have basically said that they will be using playtest servers over for large updates in future. This is undoubtedly going to be a big update, so I would be surprised if they don't PTS it first. So some time will be required to get this right. So patience on that one, but it is coming. Massive overhaul to the balance, which personally I am very much in favour of and very much looking forward to. So, how are you combating exploits and improving security? Something they have obviously mentioned before and keeps coming up. Before I dive into this, I'm going to just point out a little thing. I recently read an article wherein a journalist working for PC Gamer had a look into the cheating community and basically became a cheater, just to see what's what with it. And the game he actually played was CSGO, not Fallout. But the general gist of it, well, there were a lot of things in there, but the general gist that I took away from it was that at the end of the day, most people are lovely people, but some people want to cheat. And while there are some people who want to behave in that way, there will be people who are willing to provide a means for them to do that for a fee. You know, if there's a market, you'll sell a product to it kind of attitude. It's kind of the way it goes. It's just, sadly, life, unfortunately. The same goes with exploits, things like that. People are just gonna do that, and it is a constant running battle. Even CSGO, which has been around for years and has been tackling this issue for the entirety of its lifetime, still has a constant battle against it. It's just a symptom of being an online game, and unfortunately, arseholes will be arseholes, and such is life. So Bethesda are going to basically have to embrace the fact that they're going to be fighting these issues from now until the end of time, and that's just the way it goes. Which is sad, but not something we can point the finger at Bethesda for. It's just people are going to do this. They're going to find a way to cheat, be that through diving in and manipulating the game to the point where they get exploits, or using third-party software to cheat, or anything like that. It's just going to be a thing. We just have to hope Bethesda can keep on top of it as best they can. So, Bethesda's response. We take exploits and cheating seriously, and we're working to address cheating and close out exploits as often as possible. For example, earlier this year, we implemented tech that enables us to address certain issues and exploits without needing to bring the game offline for maintenance, which allows us to be more agile than before. We still have plans to roll out MultiFactor Authentication, and we'll have more details when we are nearer to its release. So, short answer covers the important details. It's kind of cool that they've got something that allows them to deal with exploits and cheats without bringing the game offline. That's always good. It reduces the impact on those of us who play fair, so that's great. Anything that makes it more agile means faster response to issues like that, which is also very, very welcome. As I say, it's going to be an endless battle, you know. It is what it is, but good to see Bethesda are advancing their technology on that front and speeding things up and reducing and mitigating some of the impact on the rest of us, which is cool. Regarding two-factor authentication, it's kind of a pain in the butt in some ways, but it's well worth doing to secure anything. Literally anything I can have two-factor authentication on, I can. Basic gist of it is you'll be sent a code to your phone, and you put that code in anytime you want to log in, and it confirms that you are the person you say you are, basically. An extra layer of security beyond just having a password. So, definitely a good thing, well worth embracing. It's an extra hoop to jump through every time you want to log in, but it beats the living daylights out of having your account hacked, so well worth considering when they actually get to this. I'm guessing this one won't be a million miles away. Probably midsummer would be my hunch on this one. It's technically challenging, but not that technically challenging, and they've had plenty of time to work on it. So my guess is that it will come off the back burner a little bit with Wastelanders being just around the corner, and therefore be a bit sooner than some of the other things. But something to look out for. I would seriously encourage everybody to embrace this. So, what are your plans for Fallout 76 after Wastelanders launches? So touched on this one again during the panel, covered a few bits and pieces in there, some vagaries, well worth a look in the previously mentioned video. Do check it out via the card. It's a good video. Long one, but a good one. Anywho, so during the panel we mentioned that we already have plans for future content through this year that we're excited about, and we hope you will love too. We're focused on releasing Wastelanders right now, and we'll look to share more details about additional 2020 Fallout 76 content in the near future. Pretty much what we expected. More coming, cool stuff. It's going to build on Wastelanders and the technology they're putting in place with the Wastelanders, but they'll announce more details after Wastelanders. It's what you'd expect. If you want a few more details, a bit more of a look, as I say, check out the video on the card. So, one other thing that we did touch on briefly during that video again, the community calendar. I went over it rather quickly because there's a lot of stuff in here. Specifically, it's the events coming up over the next quarter for Fallout 76, which is very, very cool, and all the dates for them. So if you want to get a bit of a preview of what to look out for and plan for, very, very cool. I will throw the larger picture up on the screen if I haven't already, so you can take a look yourself. But in March, we have a Murmagor's Purveyor Legendary Sale. That is running from the 19th to 23rd. On the 27th, we have a new Around Appalachia Photo Challenge. Free consumables in the latter part of the month as well, so you'll be able to buy those in the Atomic Shop for free. That's repair kits, scrap kits. Around Appalachia submissions for the new springtime theme will start at the end of March. March? Yes. And in April, obviously, Wastelanders and the Steam release, both on April 7th. We have a new Twitch Prime bundle coming out on the 9th, so that's the third bundle. A second bundle that is currently live over on Twitch will end at the same time, so make sure you get your freebies that way if you can. So going into May, we have the ongoing Double XP weekend, and we have new backpack vanity updates. So basically, new skins coming out on 12th of May for backpacks, which will be very, very cool. It's been a little while since we've had anything new. Definitely looking forward to that. Be Atomic Shop, of course, but there we go. So, new Treasure Hunter event. That should be interesting. In 15th to the 18th of May. Hopefully we'll get more details near the time. I should imagine so. That'll be cool to see. Fastnacht seasonal event. Something I think a lot of people are waiting to see come back. Obviously this has been delayed due to Wastelanders. They want to put their time and effort into that. Probably the right call. Good to see it will be coming back, if a little later. So that will be rolling in on the 19th of May. So, that's community calendar. As I say, this blog post will be linked down in the description if you want to have a closer look yourself. Goes over a few more of the details that were available last weekend, and these few bits and pieces as well in a bit more detail as well. So, closing remarks. We can't wait to play Wastelanders Update with you when it launches on April 7th. We hope you enjoyed the preview we shared of new content in action at Bethesda Game Days this year. Till next time, we'll see you in Appalachia. So, all in all, very, very cool. Not vast amount of expansion on what they've covered here before. A few more details, which are good to see. The nuking thing is probably the biggest detail here, and I have decidedly mixed feelings. I really like that they've tried to embrace it and come up with a way to make it work, but I really hope as well that once the initial novelty wears off, people stop doing it. I'm hoping there isn't a lot of value to be gained from it. Once Bethesda changed the White Springs location so that the rewards you gain from nuking it were significantly nerfed, people basically stopped nuking it. As if you remember back to the early days, like the only place that got nuked pretty much was the White Spring, because there were huge numbers of ghouls there, and you could get vast numbers of legendary resources, gear items out of them, and so on and so forth. So people were doing that over and over and over, and I'm hoping that if there are limited and little rewards to be gained from nuking the two cities, Foundation and Crater, that people will go off the idea quite quickly beyond just seeing the initial responses. Fingers crossed that's the way Bethesda are going to go, because otherwise it's not going to be much of a hub if people are nuking it all the time. So we'll see what happens there, but cool to see a few more details. So I want to try and keep this to a reasonable length, so I will round things up around about now and say thank you very much for watching. I do hope you folks have enjoyed this video. If you did, please do drop likes and subs. It's always very, very much appreciated. Social media links down in the description, along with a link to the blog post as well, if you want to keep up to date with what I'm doing on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And if you're really enjoying the content, please do consider becoming a channel member as well. The support is hugely appreciated, and I've got a couple of cool things lined up for that in the near future. For now, oh yeah, if you haven't caught one of the live streams, do that as well. I'm going to be jumping back into those over the next few days, and next week I have the whole fortnight off, actually, as of next week, so plenty of streams, plenty of content, hopefully, and very, very cool things going on. Do have a visit over the middle weekend, so a bit quieter there, but otherwise, do watch this space for many, many cool things. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.